Thank you. Evening, everyone. So I'm Lucas Marxen. I'm from the Office of Research Analytics at Rutgers University down at the New Brunswick campus. I'm going to talk to you today about an application we developed for New Jersey Transit within the last year called the New Jersey Land Use and Transit Data Application. Basically, a little background. This was developed in collaboration with the Voorhees Transportation Center, which is one of the research centers at Rutgers University. And this was funded basically by North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority and NJ Transit. And some of the funding also came from the Federal Highway Administration. The main purpose of the tool was to basically create something that allow people to map, report, and download a range of land use, travel, and public transit data, demographic data, as well as real estate development data, and basically help assist people in looking at the interaction between land use, transit, and transit-oriented development. And specifically, the initial project looked at the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail line, which is right outside New York City here. Some of the potential users for this tool that we originally identified were everything from elected officials to city and local planners, transit service planners, community and economic development planners, as well as the real estate industry. This is kind of a list of some of the available data we've built into the tool. It's a lot, and it's growing by the day. But basically, we have data in the different areas of development data, demographic data. We're also getting transit service data. We're using things like GTFS to pull that data into the application. We're pulling travel data from the Census Transportation Planning products, which has just been updated. We're hopefully going to get the new data in soon. We're pulling in economic data and, like I said, demographic data from U.S. Census. And we're also pulling in various planning and environmental data from our state agencies where it's available. This is some of the details of the application, how we built it. It's actually built on an ArcGIS API for JavaScript. It's the primary code behind it. And we're using a calcite maps interface that's built on Bootstrap. And underlying it, we have a PostgreSQL database and an ArcGIS server. We actually have a dynamic workspaces enabled, so basically we're able to build maps on the fly, pulling data in real time from the database in the back end. And then we're using a high charts JavaScript charting library to help do some of the visualization of the data on the application. So we just released version 1.2 in March. These are some of the enhancements we added to it. Basically, we added a lot of new transit data from some of the other partner organizations like SEPTA, PATH, and PACO, and Metro North, as well as some of the private ferry data. We've also enhanced some of the bus and rail service data, like I said, pulling stuff from GTFS. We've made some minor enhancements to some of the reporting tools we have integrated, which I'll show you guys when I do a demo. We have just started phase 3 for this project, so we are getting continuous annual support from NJ Transit to continue building this out and adding new data to it. Basically, some of the things we're looking to do this year is actually incorporate more data on the bus corridors in New Jersey. So trying to look at some of those high frequency bus corridors and any locations that basically we have a lot of transfers occurring between buses. And we're also collecting additional local development data. So the initial project, we basically pulled local development data from the municipalities surrounding the Hudson-Bergen Light Rail line. And we're basically expanding out into different counties such as Bergen and Passaic County, and potentially also into some of the more central areas of the state around some of the other transit lines. And something else that's going on is NJ Transit is going to be trying to use this for a county pilot project. There's a potential new rail line that's going to be going in across Bergen and Passaic counties over some old industrial rail lines. So they're going to kind of use this tool in the planning process to help kind of understand what's going on in those areas. Here's the contact information, but I'm just going to jump into the application now. Oops. So you can reach the tool at njlutrans.org. It is live. We have a tutorial to kind of walk you through some of the parts, but I'm going to go straight in and kind of show you guys the interface. So basically on the left-hand side of the application here, we have areas where you can basically find specific geographies that you're interested in. So for this purpose, we'll look at Hudson County since we have the most data for that area. In addition to that, you can then select a specific municipality you're interested in. So we can look at, let's say, Bayonne. You can also search for a specific address. If you're interested in seeing some of the county municipalities, you can turn that on. But on the left-hand side here of the application, the primary thing here is basically these are data overlays that you can turn on to basically see different types of information on the map. So like I said, we are collecting development data from basically a lot of these municipalities. So we can look at things such as the number of applications that have been applied for in that area, the number of residential units, square feet of things like industrial, retail, or office space. So we can do residential units in this case. So what it's basically doing here is showing you information on the number of units that have been basically either built in the past 10 years or are currently planned on being built. And you can change the opacity for these layers if you're going to put on different layers on top of that. But on the other side here, we have basically interactive map features. And so what we can do here is actually zoom in, and we can turn on, basically what we do here is we have the selectable map layers. We can look at specific data regarding a specific geography. So we have county, municipality, census block groups, as well as tax parcel block groups. And then on the below that, we have the transportation layers where you can turn on basically things like the NJ Transit bus and light rail lines. So we'll turn on the light rail lines here. So you can, once you pull a specific layer up, you can click on it. It gives you some basic information. So in this case, about the East 22nd Street station. You can see information about the weekday train departures, the average weekday boardings, and we can also pull up more information about that train station. Give it a second. There we go. So you can see here, basically it's pulling in all the, basically the ridership, the weekday service frequency data. This is all again pulled from the GTFS system. Basically, we're providing AM peak values, the PM peak values in terms of how frequently the trains are stopping at that location, as well as nearby connections. So we're providing nearby bus stop connections, data on other types of modal connections here. Different information about the station itself, as well as boarding data for the past, I believe, 10 years we have. So you can see trends in that as well. Additionally, if we zoom in a little further, we can turn on the parcel block data. And we can basically select one of these parcels. Get some basic information about what's going on there. But when we go to information, we can actually see the development applications that have been applied for or approved within that for that area. You can click on it and actually get the details for that development application. In this case, this is a small residential development that was being put in there. And when we have information, we actually can provide the construction status. In addition to, besides the development data, we're also providing the parcel tax record data for that block. So you can actually pull up valuation information about that property. One of the other things we've built in is a reporting tool and a download report tool. So to give you guys an example of this, you can actually do a report based on a county, a municipality, or a station stop or terminal, as well as a custom selection on the map. So begin with, we can do like a rail one. We can do NJ Transit Light Rail, Hudson Bergen Light Rail Line, select the station. We can do 2nd Street in Bayonne. And you can select the catchment area between a 1/4 mile and a 1/2 mile of the station. And then we provide you with the option to pick different types of data topics you might be interested in getting information about. For this purpose, I'll select all of them. And then you can either generate a report or generate a data download. So when you generate a report, it provides you with a kind of a custom little report here that's printer friendly. So we basically did this mostly for things like local officials who may want to be able to bring a small report with them to a planning meeting. So you get a map of the location you're interested in, some of the basic information about the station itself, the transit service levels at that station. Then it goes into the development data, so we can see the number of applications that have been either approved or applied for in that area, the type of basically the breakout of whether it's been residential or office or retail space. We also have the tax record data for that within that 1/2 mile of that station, so you can see kind of the valuation of the property within that area. And then we're bringing in ridership data, so you can see how the ridership trends for that station as well for the entire line that it's on over time. Then we're pulling the travel data from the CTPP from the census. So you can see basically different modes that people are using to travel into that area or out of that area for work purposes. The auto ownership, different demographic data in terms of owner and renter data, you're the householder moved in. We're also pulling some of the economic data so you can see economic trends over time, housing costs over time. And then we're also pulling in environmental and planning data, which in Hudson County, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of diversity in terms of the land use. It's mostly basically either water or urban. But as this tool moves out into the more suburban areas, you'll see a lot more information about everything from preserved farmland to forest land, things like that. And then we provide basically all the data sources that come behind all that information. So similarly, sorry, you can also do a data download, which actually generates a zip file of CSVs basically for all the, sorry, let me just do a county one. Basically automatically generates a zip file containing CSVs for basically all the data that supports that application. Oops. So you can see that here, it organizes it all basically by category. And you can go into, you'll have all the census data, all the development data, everything right there for you. Like I said, we also built in custom selection tools. So if you're not interested in the kind of a predefined area, you can actually use a selection tool to say select a certain number of parcels within a certain area. And same thing, go to the data download tool or report tool. Go to map selection here. It shows basically everything you've selected. Select all topics again and generate a report. Custom ones take a little bit of time to generate because it's actually doing all the data collection on the fly, but basically generates that custom report for you based on your custom selection. So this is really interesting for people who are interested in learning about what's going on in a specific neighborhood. They can actually select the specific areas they're interested in and basically get all that same information for that local area. So other than that, we also have a subscribe feature in the top. So if you want, you can basically subscribe to your email address. We provide you updates when new things become available on the application. There's also a contact us page. We're constantly making advancements and developments with the application, adding new data or new features and functionality. So we appreciate any feedback you guys can provide. And like I said, one of the things we're going to be working on next year is we're actually working on redesigning the UI a little bit. This was kind of done in a very short time frame to get this application up and running. So we want to kind of revisit it and spend a little more time kind of fine tuning and stuff. But we're open to any kind of suggestions you guys have. So feel free to play with it and give us feedback. Other than that, much done. Sorry, I'm not a Mac user, so this is all a little. I'm a Linux and PC guy. Sorry about that. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.